Paul Teutul Jr. lost everything in a sad family feud after turning Orange County Choppers into a TV empire. The father sought $1.5 million from his son. Brother had to choose sides. You and your dad parted ways eventually. The man fired you. He did. Very difficult at the time. In retrospect, it was the greatest. Paul understood the actual cost of their famous conflict after becoming a father. Having a son has helped me forgive and understand my father. Today, the guy who developed America's most famous motorcycles explains the terrible truth behind the cameras and why he hasn't eaten with his father in 15 years on holidays. The mid-1980s saw most kids riding bikes, watching cartoons, or playing Nintendo. However, Paul Teutul Jr. had a different sense of fun. He started working in Orange County Ironworks heat and loudness age 12. While other kids were at the beach, Paul swept metal shavings from workshop floors and ran tools to grown men welding steel. Before that, he spent time at his dad's job site collecting metal scraps like toys. He created miniature sculptures from trash. That early encounter shaped everything. By 14, Paul was welding with calm perfection that even the pros respected. He learned builder thinking as well as skills. Not all was well in the shop. His father, Paul Sr., was intense. He was harsh on his son. He often punished him more than everybody else. Junior couldn't ignore minor faults. If something went wrong, he'd be screamed at in public. Some called it unfair, but Senior believed it would strengthen him. The years exacerbated their personality clashes. I also think the show damaged the family. Paul Sr. liked brute force and tradition. Paul Jr. preferred crisp lines and precise precision as an artist. Jr. renovated a railing one summer to make it stronger and prettier. His dad initially rejected it, but a few days later, he approved and utilized the design without saying anything. That moment spoke everything. There was deep respect, a continual tug-of-war. Paul Jr. chose not to study for math tests like normal high schoolers. He took half-day metallurgy classes in a vocational program. He learned welding, drawings, and steel stress points. He could see how metal wanted to move before touching it, according to one of his professors. Junior practiced every weld and cut outside of class until it felt natural. He knew he could thrive without a fancy degree. Just master his art. He was no longer sweeping floors when he returned to his father's shop after graduation. He was a proficient fabricator who spoke the pros' language and delivered results. Orange County Ironworks Railing Division was led by Paul Jr., age 19. Not a small task. The department generated approximately half the company's revenue. Most think it was familial partiality, but Jr. earned it. He modernized the shop and expanded design options. Customers were willing to pay more and wait longer for his creations since they were so popular. He also oversaw an elderly workforce. Some military veterans were first skeptical. Even his toughest opponents eventually realized he knew what he was doing. You thinking what? Have you considered utilizing an Indian He made a metal store famous. Respect like that is hard won. Still, something was missing. Junior felt trapped after years of erecting stairs and railings. He wants to create moving, living things. He ignited the spark by covertly doodling motorcycles in an old notebook after work. Dad started biking again about that time. It began casually. Senior asked Junior to create one. Paul Sr. was astonished by his son's drawing, not just technical. One day, Senior looked at his son and said, "Let's build bikes for real. A business, not a hobby." It went beyond motorcycles. It involved repairing something greater, years of separation. They founded Orange County Choppers with $175,000 from the family's ironworks business. It wasn't fair. Senior kept 80%. Junior got 20%. Nothing mattered yet. They only had a dream and a frigid basement. full with tools. The motorcycles they made gained attention within months. True Blue required 4 months, late nights, welding, and blue paint with white flames. It looked like it originated from a major builder, not a cold garage in upstate New York. The 1999 Daytona debut left jaws dropping. They were no longer nothing, but success was hard. They built bikes in a frigid workshop in 2000. Tools broke, suppliers wanted upfront payment, and money ran out quickly. Paul Jr. frequently worked 18-hour days, sleeping on a shop couch to keep on track. Their fights were loud and fierce, not for display, but for survival. They continued going because they couldn't quit, even if every bike they sold barely paid costs. It was 2002 when a call came. TV producer Craig Peligian noticed a biking magazine piece. He sought a new reality show. Paul Sr. answered the phone and shouted, "What the hell do you want?" The producer proposed a junkyard bike restoration show. Sr. shut it down immediately. "We build them from scratch," he continued. The agreement nearly failed. However, weeks later, the producer had a better idea. Record the process, arguments included. The thought offended Paul Jr. He worried the cameras would ruin everything. He sent his dad a 5-page letter claiming, "They'll make us seem foolish." The contract insulted. $5,000 per episode, countless camera retakes, and heated lights that ruined welding. Producers considered titling the show Family Friction. Paul Jr. nearly walked, but they signed for money. At its March 31, 2003 premiere, American Chopper surprised everyone. It detonated in 3 episodes. Over 3 million watched weekly. They weren't just bike builders anymore. Were stars. Their modest shop became a tourist magnet. Stock flew off shelves. Discovery Channel sold $13 million in its inaugural season. To keep up, the Tulls moved into a $12 million facility. Paul Sr.'s fury initially drew people in, but Paul Jr. kept them watching. Drama didn't interest fans. They enjoyed his growth. Magic, silent, focused, and exact, were Jr.'s designs. A scene of him installing a gas tank without music or talking was one of the most requested clips ever. American welding schools enrolled more students, known as the Pauli effect. Black Widow, the bike that altered everything, arrived. Not simply a bike. The spiderweb gas tank, bespoke wheels, and 167 hours of labor made it stand out. When it was debuted in New York, 15,000 people attended. Security restrained the crowd. Soon, they sold model kits, teas, video games, etc. Sales exceeded 280,000 model kits in 6 months. It branded OCC, not just a business. After Paul Jr. finished building the fire bike in June 2003, it wasn't simply another chopper. It changed his career. He didn't simply make motorcycles. He built a memorial for 9/11 firemen. Every bike part had to have meaning. Authentic steel was a powerful detail. From the WTC rubble. Paul didn't pass it on. He self-welded it. He fitted the jagged metal to a diamond plate bracket he manufactured for this bike. The final piece was the most moving, but there were other obstacles. He redesigned the bike's frame to accommodate the ambitious design. Support 343 hand-painted symbols, one for each fireman that perished. That weight, literal and symbolic, required substantial engineering. The New York Fire Department didn't consider the bike's crash the following year like a typical crash. They personally salvaged the bike like a fallen comrade. That was its significance. It remains at OCC's museum. More than 248 events. People still visit, cry, and leave notes and tributes. Paul Jr. would create another homage bike years later, revisiting 9/11's anguish and force. The response to this one's January 20th, 2011 unveiling was phenomenal. Bikers weren't the only attendees. It included Mayor Michael Bloomberg and the 9/11 Memorial President. Daniel R. Tishman, a Memorial Board member, asked Paul to build something special. He brought 2 bikes. One remained as tribute. The other was raffled for memorial funds. All income from online and in-person ticket sales supported the 9/11 Museum. People wept as the bike cover came off that day. Adults, families, tourists, everyone felt the emotional impact of that machine. Design expressed a narrative without words. The Huffington Post covered it in full, reaching those who couldn't attend. Behind the bright paint and polished chrome was his technological intellect, perhaps more astounding. Not only did Paul Jr. design gorgeous bikes, he secretly introduced a motorcycle game-changer in 2012. He started using T-spline modeling to design smooth, curved surfaces. Instead of 40 hours, it took 15. That strategy was crucial for building an electric bike with Autodesk. Other shops soon copied the technique without crediting its creator. Paul's 2015 action stunned his team. His approach made motorcycle frames lighter but stronger. Customs construction modified substantially. He continued. He learned CNC programming language G-code by himself. He was only the bike designer before. Now he could control machinery. The artist-turned-machinist handled both creative and technical aspects of the project. Paul Teutul Sr. and his son's conflict grew over time. It started softly in 2007. Sr. granted Jr. 20% of their company, but retained complete control. The setup seemed reasonable at first. My father manages the business. Son is stylish. However, Jr.'s designs gained popularity and made headlines, tipping the balance.